In a bid to aid the development of homegrown strikers and defenders, the All India Football Federation recently took the decision to restrict the foreign players taking part in different state leagues across the country. The federation believes that too many imports will hinder the development of local players. The Indian Football Association will be most impacted by the federation's decision. The Kolkata Football League, still one of the top leagues in the country, has quite a few foreign players contracted by different clubs. The fans throng the stadiums to watch these overseas players. But this recent development will put state associations in a spot and will make it even more difficult for them to attract sponsors. Let us hear what Anirban Dotto, the IFF secretary, had to say to RevSportz.
Well, I firmly believe that if foreigners don't participate in the local league, it will create opportunities for local boys. Because if we go by the current teams in Premier Division A, we have around 16 teams. So, 2 foreigners in each team means 32 players, and they're primarily playing in the position of strikers and stoppers. So obviously there will be a vacuum when we remove the foreigners, and the local boys can fill in that blank. But then again, we have to also consider, like, we are already in discussion with our sponsors and TV partners in regard to telecasting the league without foreigners. But we have to understand that IFF is an autonomous body, and while we are of course under AIFF, but our league is completely self-funded. So the money for the league comes from sponsors and telecasting rights. So in case we lose sponsors and telecasting rights, then it will become a major challenge for us. But we are hopeful that we will be able to convince our sponsors, keeping the local players in mind and creating opportunities for them. I'm hopeful that they'll agree to it and will be able to field the local players instead of foreigners.
The AIFF had previously followed a 3-1 formula with each team allowed 3 foreigners and 1 other player of Asian origin. But over the years, the federation had observed that most clubs had the tendency to recruit foreign professionals in 2 key positions, central defender and striker. Even the big clubs in the ISL and the I-League followed that pattern. The AIFF feels that is one of the reasons for the dearth of quality Indian footballers in these positions.
Well, it is true that competition improves quality. So higher the standard of competition, better the quality of products. But then again, we have to keep in mind what is happening right now currently is we have completely removed competition. The positions for strikers and stoppers are completely taken up by foreigners only, and boys of Bengal origin or the local players of India hardly get a chance to play as a striker in a Premier Division team. So we have to create opportunities, we have to create good strikers. If we have good strikers, then only we can create competitions. If you are fielding a foreign striker and a foreign stopper against a foreign striker and foreign stopper, that doesn't improve your local quality, the quality of local players. So there has to be a balance. Right now, we are suffering from an acute shortage of stoppers and strikers. But if we can fill enough local boys, then maybe with time we can reintroduce foreigners where they'll face competition, where they'll face pressure to improve themselves so that they can fight and be on the ground against foreigners.
Hundreds of foreign players, mostly from Africa and Latin America, countries like Brazil, arrive every year for trials with various Indian clubs. A few become household names. In the recent past, players like Chidi, Kroma, Belu Razak and Ranty Martins have made quite an impression on Indian football lovers. But the recent development will make things very, very difficult for them going forward.
Said previously, is my message to other foreigners, other players, is that they have to keep their head up, because I've gotten so many calls from most of my friends that the news that they heard, so it's very frustrating. The only thing I have to tell them that those guys have to keep their head up and don't not to be, you understand, discouraged, because see, this thing is happening, but we are only appealing that they should go back to the drawing board, at least to consider those foreigners. You understand? Coming up to say foreigners is not allowed, it will be very frustrating for some of the foreigners in this country. You understand? Because some of them here, they don't have the opportunity to play I-League. Some of them don't have the opportunity to play maybe second division. They start from state league. So they will face problem a lot. Maybe they will get visa issue. They don't have money to go back. So my advice to those guys, they just have to prepare themselves. If the news stand that, oh, foreigners are not allowed, that means they have to start preparing at least to go back and renew visa to come, because to stay away from problems.
The new rule, however, is not applicable to ISL and I-League clubs, as the federation feel these are competitive leagues that must adhere to the norms followed in similar competitions worldwide. It remains to be seen whether this radical change helps Indian football in unearthing a new generation of forwards and defenders.